So in this one, we're going to be creating a very simple search filter. That is, users are going to be able to search something and results are going to show up, or at least some sort of like list of items are going to show up. And it's actually going to happen on the post list itself. So what I want to do is jump into the post list template first, and we're just going to put a input right underneath the title. So let's go look at it. Right underneath this list title here, we're going to put an input for searching. And all I'm going to do is form, and I'll say method equals to get, which is the default. And then I'll just give the action of nothing. And we're going to close this off. And I'll say input type equals to text. And we'll say placeholder equals to search posts. Close that off. And then input type equals to submit. And value equals to submit or search. Okay, so we're going to refresh in here. Now we've got this search function here. And if I search something, let's say new car, I don't actually get anything in here. So I actually have to add one more thing to this, and that's name equals to query, or let's call it Q for query for short. Now I search it again and I say car. Notice the car comes up into the URL itself, so that is a GET request. So back in our view, to get that, it's very similar to like what we did with this page stuff, except we just add one more thing. So we're going to go ahead and say query equals to request.get Q, which is the query itself, or the name of the actual input for the query, so this right here. And if query, so if it exists, we'll do query set list, and we'll say equals to query set list dot filter, and we'll say title equals to, or let's say underscore I contains Q, and we'll save that for a second and refresh. Oops, not Q, but query. Sorry about that. Should be the same as that variable. Refresh, and we'll say now it says car. Look at, as it's already showing that it's only one page. So let's go back and say Tesla. We can change it up here, or I can change it in here, right? So back into our actual view itself, or in here, I'm also going to add the value equals to request.get.q. Oops, capital Get again. And it will actually show us that search in there as well. So car, it keeps it in that search box, so the user, it's a lot easier that the user can tell that they did search it. And of course, if I put nothing in here, it's going to come back as everything else. So query is none, really, is what's going on there. All right, so now that I've got that, I might want to add one more thing into this search. Like I want to have the title, but maybe I also want to have something with the description or the content itself, and possibly the author or some other stuff. But really, I'm just going to do the title and the content, and then we'll do some stuff with the author's names. So to do this, we have to do Q lookups. So I'm going to search Django Q lookups on Google, and it's making queries. So I'm going to just search import Q, and this gives us the Q lookup stuff that we need. So these are complex lookups. I'm going to explain this in just a second, but let's actually put it into action first. And I'm going to import this in. So Q is right here. Now back into our query, we're just going to add Q in front of this. So as you see here, I'm going to go ahead and space it out a little bit. Now I have a line for this, and then if I put a straight line, then I can add another type of query. And I can add content, I contains, and then add another line, and I'll say user, or excuse me, I think we called it author, but let's actually check in our models. Nope, we called it user, so the post is user. And I'll say user, double underscore, first name, I contains. And I can do that one more time for last name. There we go. So what this is doing, each line here is saying or. So the title contains this query, or the content contains this query, or the user contains this query, and so on. And then if I just add dot distinct to the end of this, it's not going to have duplicate items in there. So let's do our search again. And this time I'm going to search Justin. And notice it's all the same posts. Let's search car again. And now it comes back down. And if I search, let's say something that's probably here we go, or her we go. And I search that specifically. I got a nice little search, and it only shows the post that actually comes up there. And also see that it is nice and URL encoded. So you can even share this search. Very, very simple search, but it's very useful for us as far as updating how the query is. Notice that I still can use pagination. So let's actually change pagination. I'm going to change the list to Tesla. And we have multiple in here, so I'm going to just change the actual number that I'm going to have is 2. So 2 results per page. So I change it to 2, and if I hit next, it changes it to page 2. Didn't actually stay as far as the query is concerned. So what we have to do is, back in our post list, the pages are still working, but the next part is not. So in here, we've got our page number, and then we'll say and q equals to request.get.q, so whatever the query is, and I'll just put that also on previous. And we can now look back in Tesla, so I refresh and there we go. If I hit next now, it's keeping the page as well as the query that's coming through here. And notice if I use lowercase, it's still showing up as far as the models are concerned. It's changing the order slightly, but it's not changing the order at all, but it is showing us exactly how we want it to see. So as far as the Tesla is concerned, order is going to come through based on how we do our model. So in here, that order by stuff, it's still going to come through the exact same way. And that order by will also work on this model manager as well. So the last thing that I would want to do actually is get rid of this queue if we don't have anything. So let's go ahead and look at posts. And if I go to next, queue is still showing up here. It's really not necessary for it to. So you could just say here is if request.get.q, then we'll show that. Otherwise we won't show it. So I'm going to copy this and paste it down here. Now I refresh and look at the pages again, go to next, and it's now no longer showing queue. If I search new, it's going to go back to that original search. It's not going to go on that individual page, and then it's going to go to next. That's how I believe most search engines are going to work anyway. It's going to go to the original search. It's not going to necessarily filter that page. It's a little bit different. Cool, so that's a basic search function. If you have any questions on this, let us know. Otherwise, let's keep going.